Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Today, my guest is Grandmother Arapata. She's Indigenous grandmother. She's a healer who has been traveling the world for the last many years. And she comes from New Zealand. She was born in New Zealand, and she's of Maori and Samoan origin. And before we start, I would like us to close our eyes, if it's good for you, to just ground for a little bit. So if you feel that it helps you to ground, close your eyes for a moment. Take a deeper breath. And for a moment, feel your body. Maybe you will feel your belly rising and falling with your breath. Maybe you will feel the temperature of your breath, the air coming in and out. Just for a few moments, be with yourself in your own space. Feeling yourself. And breathing the energy. And feeling this energy swirling in your body. Or maybe just knowing that it's there. And into this space, I am inviting our helpers, our ancestors, all those who guide us, who wish us well, who walk with us, who share their gifts with us, who bless us. Please stand in a circle around us and watch over us. Take one more deeper breath, and when you are ready, you can open your eyes. Welcome, Arapata. Thank you for taking this invitation, and thank you for coming to talk with me and to share. And at first, I would like you to introduce yourself, just to give you that. I did introduce you, but maybe you would like to add something or do it in your way. So, hello.
Kia ora, and thank you, Kasha, for this opportunity to share space with you. I am Grandmother Arapata. I am an Indigenous grandmother, and as Kasha said, I am of Maori and Samoan descent. I come to you from the beautiful country of my homeland, Aotearoa, or New Zealand. And as way of introduction, I suppose I will start with what's most important to me. I am the mother of 6 children and the grandmother of 20 grandchildren. And if anyone asks, why do I do this work? It is because of them, especially for my grandchildren, in understanding that it's important to leave them and to help all our grandchildren walk a good path with old knowledge to help them and to remind them that they're not walking this path alone. And I would say, I would just like to thank you once again for this opportunity.
Yes, I wanted to...
And if I may, I'm sorry, just one other thing. you mentioned that I was a healer, and I would say I am a facilitator, which is I help understand people understand that they are their greatest healer and how to access that healing capability with tools that they have um, in a very gentle way. Thank you.
I asked you to introduce yourself because I still remember when you came to Poland and when I met you for the first time. It was probably over 10 years ago. And you were traveling in Poland with two other grandmothers, or you met in Poland two other Maori grandmothers. And when you met, you introduced yourselves, all three of you, and you knew exactly where you come from and where you are in this group. And you knew that you were going to present in the name of those grandmothers, like you were the leader, and all of you knew that. And this was so fascinating to me that through your culture and through your origin or the place where you come from, you know your place within a group. This was mind-blowing to me when it happened.
Yes, I remember that. That was Grandmother Ayla and Grandmother Rangimarie, and we are still very close. What I would like to say on that is in our world, the one who speaks and leads and makes sure that the other grandmothers are okay is usually the rangatahi or the younger one because there's more energy there. And it was my job then to make sure that my grandmothers, my nannies, were cared for in a way that I knew they should be, and to assist in whatever way they needed to do the work that they should. I know that this was very strange to a lot of people since I was the youngest at the time. But in our culture, you got young knees, you're going to be doing lots of running. So it's not with the same type of leadership, when like, oh, you're the boss. No, it's I'm physically able to ensure that we are all safe and run errands. Yeah.
Thank you for that. So when you said that you were facilitating people's healing, what exactly do you do?
This work over the years has developed into what we call the sacred womb movement, which is helping facilitate women connect to both worlds. We naturally, who have wombs, hold two worlds. The womb being the most sacred place within our physical being. It is nothing that I give you, it is something you are born with. The ability to hold life, should you choose, within your womb, creating life, helping to create life in the physical matter, which is birthed into a child, and in the spiritual realm, allowing the spirit to come in and out of your womb so that it can manifest into this realm of life. So holding that type of power with awareness, with consciousness, and being able to guide yourself to connect with your tipuna or ancestors are the tools that Sacred Womb Movement shares. They are simple tools, but they are not easy. They are uncomplicated, which makes it really hard.
Yes, I remember the workshops that you used to facilitate in Poland, and you would always say that they are not for entertainment and that they are going to be boring. And it looked on the outside that there's nothing happening in those workshops, but women were so tired and so hungry after sitting in one of your workshops. It was quite amazing.
And I think as I've gotten older, because now I'm in the grand old age of 64 at the time of this taping, I really put an exclamation mark after that, or a few. I think especially now that it's not time for, how would I say it, thrill seeking. It's not time for that. It's not time for entertainment. And this work is about getting to the root of everything so that whatever you choose to do with your creativity and your ability to sit in your womb as the goddess you are and wise woman you are, to strip away all the bullshit and all the masks and sit there in a loving, gentle way, understanding how to use your healing voice. You create a ripple within your sacred space, and that ripple goes beyond to all you touch. So it is just so important with the way the world is now to begin that within yourself. So whatever you're giving yourself, the goodness, you are able to share when you are ready. And so I think as I get older and the world gets a little harsher, with each passing year and more confused, I am more focused on those who are willing to take their power, to hold it in the feminine, the true feminine way, not the opposite of masculine, but in a way that is encompassing both the feminine and the masculine, to create change.
Mm-hmm. So what does true feminine mean to you? When you say true feminine, what do you mean?
I mean, the ability to hold by your choice what is feminine to you. What is, when I think of feminine, I think of the inhale and the exhale. The inhale being the gathering, the strength, the masculine. The exhale being the nurturing, the strength, the feminine. And together, them creating a complete breath. If you're asking, do I mean it's dresses or makeup or anything like that? Well, that's up to you. This is not about defining terms of who you are. This is about empowering who you are from your womb so that you are able to move in your freedom in creating that.
So why is this work so important to you, working specifically with the womb? Because there are many people who work with different areas of our being and different Maori healers, grandmothers that work with different areas. So why is the womb so important to you, to Arapata?
When you work with the womb, it's working with generational pain. And it's working with connecting to your loved ones, your ancestors. This is really important to me because unless you heal your pain, you continue to perpetuate that pain. And some of it that you carry coming into this life isn't easy to let go on your own. So understanding how to connect to your ancestors, which we all have, the ability for deep intuition, the ability to walk in two worlds, the seen and the unseen, is every woman's right. You work from your womb, you naturally have that ability. And so for me, that's extremely important in overcoming abuse, in not creating abusive situations, and walking in this life, creating, and not becoming another, I would say, social norm type of person living in someone else's system, but understanding that this is your life. And it's important to me that we are able to have that choice to follow when we want to follow, and also the choice to create when we know it's time, and to create in the place that is where we are the most powerful, which is holding two worlds. So for me, that's really the key, is to not continue the abusive patterns or to hold the pain we don't need to.
When you say abusive patterns, do you mean sexual abuse or all kinds of abuse?
All abuse. All abuse.
Yeah. And you are talking about the womb. So what about men? And I know that you work mostly with women, but how about men who don't have physical womb? How do they get healed and how do they connect?
When I work with women, I'm usually working with them and their issues with their mothers as it was passed down from their womb. When I work with men, it's usually with the loving connection of their grandmothers, not so much their mothers. And I don't think I do work with men, but as you said, I have chosen to work with women. I don't believe it's even Steven. You work with a woman, you should work with a man. I believe it's up to you. And I've chosen to really focus on women because they nurture life. And my question has always been, why? What happened? Why our men can hurt their women? Why? And so for me, I love my grandsons. I love my sons. I love my partner and my brothers and my father and grandfathers. But I also know that they came through a woman's womb. And the more healed our wombs are, the greater chance we're able to help our men connect to their wives. Well, not to help them per se, but just to be us and hold our space so that they know for themselves how to hold theirs beside us. So yeah, I do work with them.
Beautiful. Thank you. So Arapata, how were you taught? Because I believe that you were taught as a girl or a child, that you were already taken, and like this knowledge was passed on to you from your ancestors or by your ancestors. That's what I remember from our time together. Could you say something?
Yeah. Life teaches us, it teaches me the same way it teaches you. And I wasn't taught in like a school setting for shamans or whatever. It was everyday life. This is something that was passed down, and I will say continues to be passed down. It's not like I had all my learning back then. It's just continued, and it continues to come from my elders, even though I'm getting up there now and am considered one, and also from my elders and nannies that have passed on. It was just life, you know. Yeah, very simply.
So you were taken to different ceremonies, yes, and birth and death, and just observed what was happening.
You grow up in it, and repetitiveness, you know, it makes it a part of you. So it is a very cultural and everyday life affirming teachings, you know. So yeah.
Because you are also
But for me, it was normal.
Yeah, and it's something that is lost here in our culture. So it's very, very special and very unusual to be taught in this way, to be considered, to be seen. I think that's what's most important, that you were seen, or that you were seen.
If I may, I would say most of the learning came from seeing it over and over and over in my life. But as far as me as a child, it was seen in a child's eye, you know, and as a teen, from a teen's perspective, and as a young woman, young mother, from that perspective. And as I've gotten older, more and more of the wisdom that was passed down has just become more clear. Yeah. So it's I think the word seen, everyone's striving to be seen. But I'd say that the greatest gift given to me was to see myself first and to hear myself first, so that I knew what the hell was going on here. Yeah, it's like, okay, good.
So, Arapata, what was the most difficult for you on your path? Is there any experience that was difficult, that really shaped you?
So I am in the 6th decade of my life, so lots of shaping. Lots and lots of shaping. So was there one defining point? There were a few defining points. And honestly, I just have to put it into life experience that helped me understand, this is good for me. I don't have to be like everyone else. Yeah, I'm not going down that path again. You know, just these little alignments, and some of the bigger ones came with ending of life, of loved ones, the transition of loved ones, ending of relationships, beginning of relationships, birth, you know, all of that has shaped who I sit as now and the space I own.
You were talking about being taught by your living ones, by your family, but also by your ancestors. And I remember many times when you were talking to your ancestors, like you were just having tea with them. I remember this one particular time we were driving, I was driving a car and you were sitting next to me and you were talking and talking and talking. And then at the end I say, yeah, I agree with you. And you say, was I talking out loud? And this is the gift that I truly admire. with you that you have such an open channel of communication with your ancestors. So has it always been like that?
It has. It has. And then I will say, though, that there were times, years, that I chose not to engage, that I felt safer because I didn't know how to connect there and be present here. So I chose not to be a part of it, and open that channel. But what I have found over the years is that it's such a comfort to me. And I would say this, people think, oh, wow, that's such a gift. It's a gift you all have. It's a gift that's ours to hold if we so choose. But it means learning certain tools that we may have forgotten, to create that communication. But it is available, and I'm more special than anyone else. It's just whether or not we want to engage in that.
Thank you. So Arapata, can you say something about your mokos, about your tattoos? Because you have some tattoos that are quite visible.
I will just say this, that in receiving my moko kowai, which is this one here, and my ruafetu here, o marekura, there are many scars that happen, that we are left with in life, that are not of our choice, emotionally, mentally, physically. And for me, in receiving both of these mokos, it was the first time that I chose to say, this is me. And I feel very comfortable sitting in this space that allows me to hold the markings of my ancestors in this modern world. And at some point in time, I think my great-grandmothers held them, but my grandmother and my mother did not. That was during the time that colonialism really forbid it, in a sense. I don't know if there was any law written, but the mocking, the beatings, the discrimination was really harsh. At that same time, they were also trying to kill our language and banned it. And sadly, that's happening again with our new government. So holding these markings that you see is a very sacred gift to hold, and one that I don't take lightly. Well, of course, because it's on my face, right? But we will not go away. We are who we are. We are proud of our heritage. And each of these markings has a special symbolic meaning to us that is sacred, that I won't share because it is mine. But know that since getting these, I have never felt so at home in this physical body. So I am grateful for them. And thank you for asking.
Thank you. And they are beautiful. And they are so you. Like when I saw you with them, it was just so obvious. Like, yeah.
I know. It truly was like, I'm home in this body. Yeah.
It's very touching. So I believe that putting them on was a ceremony.
It was. it and it's up to the individual what that ceremony looks like, and you can take it home to your marae, and or you can have it at home, or some do it in an office, or a tattoo parlor that is prepared for that. But it's strictly up to the individual how that ceremony looks. But mine was surrounded by love. It was during a time when my children and siblings could not join me because of COVID. So we had it on the internet. And I'm really grateful for that. Yeah. I know some of my children gathered and just made it their own ceremony of it, having their children create some koi balls, which are that we use for dancing and explaining what was happening to me before it happened. And then they zoomed in and we were able to share the moment from afar. So yay for technology.
True. So how about ceremony? Like, what is the meaning of ceremony and the purpose of ceremony? Ceremony in general.
Thank you. Thank you for answering that, asking that. Let me answer with just saying that I am holding and this is not a plug because there is no cost to this, but I'm holding a year-long circle to help women understand that very question and how to hold the space if they are holding ceremony. To me, ceremony, as I was taught, is when you pause and you bring two worlds together to manifest a change in this world. So the ceremony around naming and birthing, a ceremony around healing. Some of the more modern ceremonies are marriage, yes, and and funerals. But there are ceremonies that have been lost that are very important to us women. That's your first moon, the coming of age, going into summer. The closing of that circle, when you no longer have your moons, and it is your autumn, when you are your brightest, just like those beautiful, vibrant colors. You've got this wisdom, you've got this experience, and you've got still help, and strength. So it's the closing of that circle to say, it's time. Thank you. Thank you, body, and to move into that next season of life. There's also the transitional, what you do to when you farewell someone, that ceremony. Then for a woman, there is the ceremony of rejuvenation and healing of the womb. Anytime you discharge something from it, like your moon on every month, or if you have had birthed, whether it's an abortion, whether it's a miscarriage, whether it's a stillbirth, or whether it's a live birth. When it leaves your womb, we need to come and be aware that there's ceremony to rejuvenate and to bless that womb and help it heal. Yeah. So these are the ceremonies that I speak of. I do not get involved in all these other, I'll just call them what I feel, all these trendy ceremonies. Ceremonies should not cost money, because when you bring money into the mix, you are now there for another reason. Like when two people chose to be together, it used to be quite simple for that marriage. There was a ceremony and then some grounding a feast afterwards. Now you've got the save the date, the reception to deal with, the wedding dress. It's a whole business. Ceremonies are simple. When they're grounded in the elements that surround you, they are strong. There is no need to import ceremonies. You hold them naturally within you as a spiritual being. So ceremonies to me is what our work is all about, because it helps us to be connected in creating change, real change in life, and to understanding and holding that bridge between two worlds.
Yeah, I remember.
Sorry, that was kind of long-winded.
Nice. You would always say that ceremony is something that is happening in the spiritual world, and this material world, and the, I don't know, whatever we do in here, that's the last part of the ceremony. That's just the embodiment, but everything happened already before. And I think that today people focus a lot on form, and they do ceremony in the physical world that have no meaning behind. I think that's what you called all those modern ceremonies that are a lot of fluff but no power.
Yeah. And people have made a living doing ceremonies that they yet are not able to hold. Because when you take the responsibility of a ceremony, you're the bridge. So this is where I am focusing in 2024, is helping women to understand the strength that they hold and how it's to be held so that they're safe, the people that they have in ceremony are safe, and not only the preparation to that. You know, you don't just show up and go, okay, we're having a ceremony. You know, you prepare your bodies for it, then you hold the space. And just as importantly is how to close that space, and then how to rejuvenate you and nourish you, and the resting that goes into that, so that everything that you have given is now flowing back. Yeah. And you should be as rejuvenated as those who have participated. So that has become more and more important. And I've heard people say, well, I just, you know, it costs me to have these ceremonies. Earth is earth, air is air, fire and water. If you cannot use the the elements that are around you, if you have to import something that is not indigenous to where you are, then perhaps we should look at that and say, why?
You mentioned that one has to prepare the bodies for it. So I guess what you mean is the mental body, the physical body, the emotional body, and the spiritual body. Just for people who don't know, I wanted to mention that.
Yes, and if I may add to that, that it's the spiritual body that leads. Yeah, yeah. But yes, all those bodies. Thank you.
Arapata, I always say that you work with people who are sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
And you have the story that you share with women, or you used to share, about the hole. If you could tell us this story, because I love it, and it always comes to me when I think about you.
Yeah. Well, it's not my original story, but it's you know, no, you'll just have to come, or you can tell it, Kasha, honestly.
But this story shows in a great way, you know, this state of being sick and tired, and how people circle in their pain and how they indulge in their pain. And then one day they decide that.
It's true.
Mm.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. Still not going to say it. I'm sorry. Most probably, you know, I just like the saying, when you are sick and tired of being sick and tired, then you're ready to do this work. Because this is about knowing how to hold your space. And it means you don't share. It means you take it in and you take a look at what's in your space. And we as women tend to deflect and go, oh, how are you? Let me help you. No, or that. So it's, if you're still wanting to help the world, then go help the world. But when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired because no one's listening, then maybe it's time to come and listen to yourself.
Mm. Yeah, and it's about
That's
feeling.
when true change.
Mm.
I'm sorry. I was saying that's when true change can occur. But it starts with you.
Mm. That's another thing that is coming back to me. We would always say that we cannot give what we don't have. So we need to love ourselves first and feel ourselves first, so that we can overspill. Mm.
Yeah. And it's really interesting to me what people expect teachers to be. Like, we should be perfect. We should, you know, whatever. And I just put a hashtag bullshit to all of that. We are who we are. We do our best. And it's important to allow everyone the opportunity to show us who they are without us always saying, you must be this way. In order to do or hold this space, you should, you know, do bump, 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 bump. That type of uniformity is a buzz killer. Yeah. It just takes away a person's joy and ability to create. So this work isn't about being perfect. It's far from it. It's about working from your truths, hearing your truths, knowing your truths, and accepting them without judgment. And then making choices to move in your truth and create what you choose to create.
You also mentioned, when you talked about ceremony, you mentioned that there is a beginning of a ceremony and there should be an end to it, or to any process. And this is something that you stressed a lot, that a lot of people open up ceremonies, they open up spaces, but they forget to close them. And then the energy is spilled all over. Yeah.
Thank you. It's early in the morning here, so my voice is waking. A lot of people do that in the name of healing, in the name of spirituality. And a lot of times it's been because they're just doing what they were taught. And they were not taught how to hold their space properly in order to hold the spaces that they're opening. So we see burnout. We see people with all this negativity hanging on them. You see people feeling haunted or scared or completely not in their bodies. Yes. And this I have to say is because a lot of these teachers who have taught other people have not held it themselves. So they're teaching to the best of their ability, but they don't actually own what it is they're saying and teaching. So it's important to own your space, yeah, to know what that means, and to be able to work from that space. So if you're unable to hold that space, then you open yourself up to a lot of things that you don't want in that space because you're not aware. Everyone is just doing the best they can, but if they're not taught safety measures in holding their space and making sure that you nourish yourself, again, especially when you're working in the spiritual realm, things happen. And I work with a lot of people who are in the healing space that are burned out. And for them, it's just coming back, learning what their healing voice sounds like, applying these tools that we share, and then carrying on and being able to hold deeper space in the ways that they feel called to.
I think that part of your space holding was always also when something difficult happened in your life, you would just take it in and you would sit with it. And that was amazing to me too, that you would share only after this was closed, like a closed circle inside of you. Then you would share it as a teaching for people, but you would never spill energy, or you would try not to spill energy when something was bubbling inside of you. And that was a great teaching, which I don't apply, of course, or not always, but I would love to. And this is so powerful. I hold it very dear to my heart. I try to do that, and I think it's part of space holding.
Yes, it definitely is part of space holding. And I think the process you saw was me taking it in and grounding it so that it wasn't being held within my body so much. And also opening up the channel to my loved ones that said, yo, help, and I needed space around me and to do that. So I hold very strong boundaries so that this conversation can happen, and all the noise and the emotion that comes with drama, trauma, or whatever is still there, but it's not in my sacred space, so that I can observe it without all the emotional, crap.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yes, and that was
And
incredible how you did it.
And I would say that it's a muscle. And sometimes we're really good at it, and sometimes we're shit at it. And it's good. It's just where we're at, and that's okay. Yeah.
Arapata, I would like to ask you about one more thing that has become very popular around the world and is being taught by different teachers, and it's haka. Could you tell us what haka is and what it is to you, and how you apply it, or what it means?
In my culture, the haka is it's very strong, and it's very spiritual, physical, emotional, mental. And it has meanings. It's a challenge usually, and used in war times to get everyone focused and ready to go to battle. It's used in challenges to do better, to choose wisely. It has many meanings. What I see a lot of is the entertainment. value of haka because it is so fierce. When you see a Maori do it compared to others who do it, it's very different because there is that full knowledge of how to drop into these bodies that you need and bring them together and focus them. Yeah, it's just not slapping your knees and poking your tongue and beating on your chest. But humanity being humanity, you know, we like to see things different and we like to be entertained. So I do see a lot of that happening in the world, taught by many cultures. Those who try to teach it for education purposes and to help people understand it a little deeper and its history, I'm very grateful for. Those who choose to teach it because it's fun and they'll get a crowd and it costs money and they can make money, you know, it always saddens. But there are those who are teaching it now and who are helping others find their, what would I say, war cry or cry to action, not war cry, but cry to action within their own lives. And those who teach that will teach it in the person's own language. It will be translated into that language because each of our languages holds a vibration. And if that vibration is included into a challenge of this sort, then, you know, I'm on board with that. Do I do it for entertainment? I do not. Do I appreciate those who do it for entertainment? Again, is it to educate or is it for money? Am I grateful that the haka is a part of my culture and a part of what I grew up with? I am. And I understand the depth it holds and the mana, the strength it holds as well. So,
is it that your tribe has one particular haka that is being taught to every member of the tribe, or everybody has their own personal haka?
well, iwi or hapu, there are many famous hakas that have, you know, have been shared, but there are many hakas that are created and still being created today by our younger generation. I just want to say this, that we have an amazing, we call them the kohangereo children. They're the ones that were taught in the 80s when our language had been banned, and pretty much my passport from the 70s was only in English. Now it's in Maori and English. But they bought, our elders started teaching preschoolers and their parents in the 80s how to speak Maori and to rejuvenate the language. And now those little preschoolers are adults and they are making a difference and a change. And with that comes the creation of songs, waiatas, of hakas, you know, that should continue to be created. Some will become quite popular and some will be just for the family or the hapu extended family or the iwi, the tribe. But there isn't, you know, but that's up to the individual. But there isn't, I would say, there are the traditional ones, but there's still more coming through, and I want to make space for that are being created, that are beautiful. So yes, you'll know by whether or not you are moved deeply, spiritually, not just scared, where that came from.
Thank you.
I hope that makes sense.
So is there anything else you would like to add before we complete?
Well, I would like to say this. Be kind to all those who listen to this, and thank you, Kasha, for inviting me to share. If we can just remember to be kind first with ourselves, that would be my greatest desire, because then we can ripple that out. Be kind with what you see inside, whether it's positive or negative. It is a part of us. Be kind to us. Carry that within you, and you will be able to share it around you. And if more of us are able to do that, then we're able to see our neighbors in a different light. And perhaps all this horrific situations around the world that are happening can start to feel a different ripple. And in saying be kind, I would also say don't be afraid, remembering that darkness must exist for great light to exist. So as we see the world seemingly falling apart, and in its darkest hour, have courage. Light, goodness is also present. It won't be in the news, but every day around us, if you look, you will see the light starting to come through. And with that, I thank you once again, sister, for this opportunity to share.
Okay, so let's close our eyes again just for a moment. And taking it all in, focus on your breath and on your body again. Feel your heart beating, or just know that it's beating for you always. And feel that you are held by your ancestors and held by the goodness. Well, thank you, all the helpers from the seen and unseen world. Thank you, our beloved ancestors, for being here with us during this time, during this conversation. And yes, may we be kind to ourselves. When you are ready, open your eyes. Thank you, Arapata. I really appreciate this.